I think the most important thing for sure is attitude.
Yeah.
Coming in and being willing to learn, and like even if you think you know things about finance and like you think you've taken finance classes, like you're working with people that have a ton of experience and you know basically nothing. So like coming in willing that you're gonna make a lot of mistakes and it's fine as long as you're willing to learn from them.
Right.
And being super positive, especially as a summer and even full time as well after, I think makes a really big difference. Like it's so pleasant to work with someone that makes mistakes but always has a positive attitude and is willing to learn and is improving, versus someone who thinks that they're on top of things. They come in, they know all this stuff, and like they have kind of a bad attitude coming in. I think that's a single biggest differentiator during a summer, because they're hiring you for your potential, not for what you know. Like they assume that no one knows anything, or like they're all gonna know it anyway after 2 or 3 months. Right. So it's more like, how do you see that person evolving over 1 or 2 years? And
yeah, no, that's true. And so what was like some of the surprises for you over the summer? Like, was it, I think it was some of the, I mean, I'll let you answer it. And then I think, what did you come in and you were like, wow, this is different. Like, what did you, what was your, you know?
No, I don't know. I mean, you work hard.
Yeah,
I was expecting it, but it's tough. Like, I felt like, I felt like I was working, I felt like I should apologize now. I felt like you're at school, you feel you're working hard, you feel you're smart, and then you come in, first of all, you feel pretty dumb because like people know more and like they assume that you know, and sometimes you're just like, I'm not catching up with what you guys are doing. And you work hard, because you're inefficient and because your workload is also super high.
Yeah.
And so it's that being used to that is tough, and like banking is a great place to start your career, but it's a very demanding place and frustrating sometimes. And so that's something on the negative side. I guess on the positive side, like you work with very amazing and talented people. And one of the good thing about like banking or consulting, just to point out those two, is that they are very like centered around training individuals. Like they know that people come out of school, they don't know much, and everyone, like you're going to work with a lot of associates, a lot of VPs, a lot of managing directors, everyone is willing to invest in your learning. And that's kind of like, you take that for granted, but that's kind of because you come out of school and that's what people do at school as well. But it's really cool. It's very different than like moving on to another job where like people are not there to teach you stuff. Like if you want them to teach you stuff, you're gonna have to go out of your way to get them to teach you stuff. But it's just like in banking and consulting, it's natural. Like you don't know anything, so we're gonna teach you everything you do.
Yeah, I agree. I think the training culture is
really
yeah. And I think actually it carries over to a lot of, even now, I think some investing companies are recruiting earlier, and I think even corporate finance is a role where I think you get that training a lot. I think the one difference is being in a client-facing role, I think amps up the demand of your time, etc. Because I think that the things you've talked about are all kind of the internal pressures, and as a summer analyst, or maybe a little bit of a first-year analyst, you're a little immune to the external pressure that's coming in from the client. And I've said this a lot, right? In some sense, you're hiring a lot of these, advisors, etc., to advise on some of the most challenging issues that a CEO has for his company. So you can imagine the stress that's kind of
it trickles down to you. One thing that shocked me, and I guess I remember, is people spend so much time making sure that every single piece of work is perfect, regardless if it's like a small internal memo. I was like, why are we spending so much time in like doing 10 or 15 turns of this small presentation? And like you get used to it. You get in that mindset where like every single piece of work you do needs to be perfect, and like having 98% is not good enough. Like in the sense like you're gonna have a 20-page deck, and like if you have 4 mistakes, like that's what the person is gonna tell you and gonna remember. So
it's actually a really good point.
Yeah.
So that's actually a really good point, because look, again, I think we should all strive for like a level of perfection, etc. in this, but I think one of the things that I also remember from having trained in that field, and I think this is true in banking, consulting, and a lot some of corporate finance as well, is that focus on getting it 110% correct, and actually even going kind of up. Then there's going above and beyond. I think it really trains you to think that way, where I think you start expecting and doing things in that way. So I totally agree.
It is frustrating sometimes.
Yeah,
especially as an analyst that is doing all the work, and you're like, why are we spending or like spinning our wheels on this? And then, but it's good. It's a good training.
So then the next question.